Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. There it is. People live for the pound, bro show. Crystal will be in for, what is it? She's filling in for you on Wednesday?
Yeah, Ladies' Day on Wednesday.
All right, there
whatever,
you go.
What do they call it?
Who knows? All right, that's for the other people. That's for them to decide. That's for the audience to decide. I did not even coin bro show. That was an audience.
We're pro-choice around here.
Maybe it was you, actually. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, that's right. We believe in women's choice here on the show. So that's what you're going to see this week. Let's go ahead and see. What the hell do we even have? All right, come up on me. This is the toughest part of the job here, actually saying what we have to do today. We're going to start off with tariffs.
There aren't really any clues at the bottom there.
I know, but Ryan, the amount of hand-eye coordination that this all requires is unbelievable, okay? So we're going to be starting off with tariffs. We're going to talk about some major flip-flops from the administration. Nobody knows what the hell is going on, from industry to Wall Street. People are dizzying in their reactions. The dollar is sinking to new lows. We're going to talk about China. This specifically is very interesting. Some major new initiatives from the Chinese to ban rare earth mineral exports to the United States, trying to choke off critical American industries. We're going to talk about recession watch and how many CEOs on Wall Street and others responsible, unfortunately, for many of our fates in terms of employers now already believe we're in a recession. Next, the Consumer Sentiment Index from the University of Michigan, one of the most watched studies there in terms of indicators, how Americans are feeling about the economy, mortgage rates, and others, just came out. The response is absolutely devastating for the Trump administration. A rare spot of good news here. The Iran negotiations appear to have gone well with the presidential envoy, Steve Witkoff. Some interesting stuff from behind the scenes. The pro-Israel lobby is absolutely freaking out over these developments, so we'll break some of that down for you. Then there is Bukele, the president of El Salvador, is currently in Washington today. There's been some developments there with the Trump administration appearing at least not to comply with the Supreme Court order, or at the very least complying in their own way. I'll let Ryan break a lot of that down for you. And then finally, some really devastating and terrible news. It appears an arsonist tried to assassinate Governor Josh Shapiro and his family in the governor's mansion. Some of the images that have come out are absolutely harrowing. We do know that a suspect has been arrested. We have some video there from the governor, Josh Shapiro, breaking down the incident. We don't have the full details yet, but Ryan, it is obviously, political violence, awful, but more so, it's just, it's the images coming out of that are horrible, and it does look like it was a lot closer than anybody initially thought from the initial results.
Yeah, the police are saying that the man intended to beat Shapiro with the hammer if he had gotten to him. The family got out. He didn't catch him, but close call.
Very close call.
Way too close.
Way too close. The images of it are genuinely crazy. So some questions about the governor's security detail, about who the suspect is, and more. We're going to try and break some of that down for you with the latest developments that we have here. Thank you to all of our premium subscribers, BreakingPoints.com, people who are supporting the show, some expansion efforts and other things they're going to see here behind the scenes. We will have some big announcements this week, tomorrow, when Crystal is back here at the desk. So we will bring that to you then. So you can stay tuned. Actually, if you want to become a premium subscriber today, you'll be the very first to hear about it. BreakingPoints.com. There you go. All right, let's go ahead and start off with these tariffs. This is just the most insane thing that we have seen yet, honestly, from the Trump administration since the announcement of these reciprocal tariffs. So markets absolutely exploded with optimism over the weekend from this announcement from the White House. Let's put it up there on the screen. Apple, Nvidia score relief from U.S. tariffs with exemptions. Now, you might be asking how exactly that makes sense when the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick had said that we as a country actually want to build the iPhone, and how we want a nation of people screwing tiny little screws to assemble them. But clearly what happened is that there was an immense pressure campaign from the White House, on the White House from the consumer electronics industry, 90% of which comes from China, both smartphone and laptops, that were basically telling the White House, they're like, if you do this, it will make it genuinely impossible to be able to afford these electronics. Now, at that time, it was already completely out of step with the White House's discussion, saying consistently there will be no exemptions. Exemptions are impossible. Don't even think about it. And actually, the net result of that tariff or exemption would have meant that children's toys and textiles and small business commerce goods, which are cheaper, actually would go way up. So it would have devastated small businesses while protecting Apple and Nvidia's bottom line. And so initially, that was a pretty insane announcement. Markets were set to shoot shoot up dramatically, the NASDAQ and other tech-focused industries. But then the Trump administration, in only a way the Trump administration can, literally the next day reversed course. Put this up there on the screen, please. This is from Trump, who now says, this was on Sunday, nobody is getting off the hook for the unfair trade imbalances that other countries have used against us, especially China. Quote, there was no tariff exemption announced on Friday. Now, this is news to all of us, Ryan, because the release from the White House, it's not a joke, from whitehouse.gov, was titled exemptions. So, yeah. And it's so funny because what happened is the exemptions were announced. And people, rightfully, I think, smaller importers, non-electronic importers, were furious about it. And then the White House came out and said, actually, there were no exemptions. And Howard Lutnick gave an interview on the Sunday shows where he completely reversed course from just 24-hour earlier about the so-called non-exemptions. Here's what he had to say.
So you're saying that the big tariffs on things like smartphones and laptops, iPhones, all those iPhones built in China, that those tariffs are temporarily off, but they're going to be coming right back on in another form in a month or so? Or what are you saying?
Correct. That's right. That's right. Semiconductors and pharmaceuticals will have a tariff model in order to encourage them to reshore, to be built in America. We need our medicines and we need semiconductors and our electronics to be built in America. We can't be beholden and rely upon foreign countries for fundamental things that we need. We can't be relying on China for fundamental things that we need. Our medicines and our semiconductors need to be built in America. Donald Trump is on it. He's calling that out. So you should understand these are included in the semiconductor tariffs that are coming and the pharmaceuticals are coming. Those two areas are coming in the next month or two. So this is not like a permanent sort of exemption. He's just clarifying that these are not available to be negotiated away by countries. These are things that are national security that we need to be made in America.
The president's made it.
So how can consumers and businesses make decisions when it seems as though the president's trade policies are shifting at a moment's notice?
So this is unfolding exactly like we thought it would in a dominant scenario.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense, Ryan. We had exemptions, then we don't have exemptions. And actually, while there is a temporary exemption, that exemption will be gone in a month.
The exemption that doesn't exist.
The exemption that
will
was
be
never
lifted.
announced will be lifted in a month. That's where we're at.
Got
people.
that?
I mean,
All right.
people, it's not funny because what does it mean for industry, Ryan? What would any business watching this do right now?
Just hold your cash.
Bingo.
And probably get it out of dollars,
Yes.
actually. So it's not just rush to cash. That's what's so sad about all of this is that the 300 million people in the United States across the board, whether you voted for Trump, voted for Kamala Harris, didn't vote at all, are all going to suffer as a result of this. And everything Lutnick is saying there is true. We should be making our chips here. We should be making our medicines here. Yes, that's absolutely right. None of this is going to lead to that. And we're going to talk about a little bit about how it's actually going to get us further away from that. And we're going to find out what it means to deliberately break our own supply chains without having any backup plan. The monkey, they always say, if you're a monkey, you grab the next vine before you let go.
Yeah.
Trump just let go.
That's a good, I like
Then
that.
he thought they thought that the falling to the jungle floor would be the leverage. Instead, we're just going to wind up on the jungle floor.
Yeah. And my friend Ryan Peterson, who we had on the show, you guys might remember him, the port expert, and he tweeted this as a result. He said, quote, tariffs on semiconductors and electronics will be introduced in about a month. Quote, those products were exempted from tariffs just yesterday. The whole system seems designed to create paralysis. So it is now clear, if you're a CEO and if you greenlit a major investment decision, you should short that person's stock. That person should be fired. As a shareholder, I would vote to fire any CEO who greenlit a major investment in the United States over the next 90 days while all of this tariff stuff is happening, especially if you're a NASDAQ investor for any of these major technology companies that manufacture anything. Same with Apple. If you're Apple, you know what you're going to do for the next 90 days? We're not importing shit. We're literally just going to sit on our iPhone.
Well, they're going to hustle as much in as they can.
Right, we're going to as much as we, except wait, but no, there is a 20% tariff. It could go to 104.
Right.
Nobody
Yes.
knows. Right now, we'll just let that sit here. Everybody else, good luck.
You see the cargo planes? They had like 4 cargo planes smuggling in iPhones. And I saw you tweeting about this as well, that the NVIDIA CEO, Jensen Huang, had paid $1 million to go to a Trump super PAC dinner. It's unclear if he talked with Trump or whatever, but if I pay $1 million to get into a party, I'm gonna talk to the host.
Oh, we're talking. Yeah, we're talking.
We're gonna do a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And then boom, all of a sudden, the chips, like NVIDIA makes the chips that like make the world run and will make DeepSeek run a little faster. Oh yeah, we're gonna carve those out. That's cool. So we're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar restructuring of the economy that the most important chip maker can get a carve out for after paying $1 million.
Which is nothing for them.
Right.
This is a multi-trillion-dollar company.
Are you joking?
Right.
Yeah.
The market cap of NVIDIA is larger than the entire stock exchange in the United Kingdom.
They lost like billions in the last couple of weeks.
Exactly.
So like $1 million? Sure.
Yeah, $1 million is absolutely nothing.
Here's
so
two.
This gets to the issue, which again, look, NVIDIA, they're going to be fine.
Oh, and it's $1 million dinner.
Yeah.
He may have given a lot more than $1 million.
Yeah, probably did. So, NVIDIA, they're going to be fine. Apple, they're going to be fine. These people have hundreds of billions of dollars in cash, market cap, all this other stuff. But all of these other smaller importers, let's say that you're a company. I mean, if you ever read about the history of the iPhone, the people that made the glass for this phone that's in front of me, the laptop that's in front of me, over 90% of these products are manufactured in China, entirely in China. There are a lot of actually small businesses and others. Let's say you make iPhone cases on Etsy or something like that, right? All of these input costs and surrounding ecosystem and things, those people actually, their inputs under these exemptions would have skyrocketed and actually will continue to be subject to the tariff regime. And they're the very ones who will be the most devastated. And also because the way our economy works with just-in-time delivery and no government incentive to do anything about it means that you are inflicting an incredible amount of suffering to any D2C brand, somebody running e-commerce, even, just general, like a bike shop is always the classic example. A lot of those metals, we don't even have them, period. Right. Or if we do, let's say Australia has them, they don't refine them. They have to send them to China, and China has to refine it, and they have to send it over here for the ability, for fabrication purposes, etc. All of these are exactly the type of businesses which are about to see a massive increase. Now, I can be conceptually supportive of tariffs, just as you said. Pharmaceuticals, great example. Why did China dominate in pharmaceuticals? Why did Chinese and the Europeans dominate? Well, the Europeans have the legacy, design framework, very much like we have with Intel. But then China, of course, saw it as a national strategic industry to have all of these plants which create and compound pharmaceuticals to be able to make all of this stuff. They don't do it because it's profitable per se. It helps to, make a little bit of a profit, but they do it because they know that it's vital to their own strategic autonomy. We as fools, of course, just allow this to be outsourced. Now, the MAGA folks would say, yeah, of course, Saagar, that's why we immediately need to bring it over here. I would say, yeah, great. Well, then you need to offer, let's say, a dollar for dollar tax credit. For every dollar that you're going to lose in business, you're going to get X amount of tax credit for your CapEx, which is the amount that you're about to invest here in the U.S. Everybody's a win-win situation. Instead, what we're saying is we're going to increase your cost by 140%. And by the way, maybe and maybe not, in the next 90 days. So what do you do as that person with that possible cash outflow, if you're lucky enough to even have cash on your books, which many businesses do not because they run on such a tight margin? You are going to hoard that as much as possible. In fact, you're probably going to fire some people to free up a little bit of cash flow. For, let's say you take a 60% haircut or whatever, not only are you going to fire people, you need even more cash on your balance sheet to make sure you can prepare for the future. So there's a contractual effect across the entire economy.
Yeah, and currently, if you are a business like, let's say, Apple, that makes your entire product in China, puts it in the box, puts a little cellophane on it, puts it in a ship.
Designed in Cupertino.
Designed. You write designed in Cupertino. You put it on a ship and you come over here, you're exempt from these 150% tariffs or whatever. If you're a company that is in Columbus, Ohio, and has been trying to bring back like serious jobs to Ohio, and you get some, like you were saying, you get some inputs from China, but then you assemble the rest of the pieces in Columbus, and you're working with a distributor in Toledo, and you are paying the tariffs.
Yes, that's right.
But if you take everything that you do, fire every one of your workers, find some plant on TikTok, and ask him to make your thing completely in there, and then figure out a way to get it in, or you're Apple, and you can just bribe your way in, then you're going to do better. So it incentivizes offshoring. It incentivizes doing all of your work in China. And it also is going to bankrupt, as we speak, tons of small and medium sized companies, which will then get bought up by the bigger ones, and we'll have more corporate concentration.
Oh, that would never happen, except, it happened 15 years ago. Right, I forgot about that. Let's go and put the futures up there on the screen. Futures are actually slightly up today.
Because NVIDIA and Apple are like half of the NASDAQ.
Because I think 7% of the S&P 500 is NVIDIA, and so NVIDIA and Apple's stock are increasing in their futures just over the next month, but people are optimistic even about that month-long exemption in tariffs. But the irony is that if the White House had kept a permanent exemption, or at least the idea of a permanent exemption, the NASDAQ would be up way higher. It'd be up 6-7% right now, because people thought that, we're going to be having some deals. Let's go and put A4 up on the screen. This guy did such a good job of just summarizing. This is just since Wednesday. So this is 5 days. This is 5 days in the United States of America. We have had universal reciprocal tariffs, a removal back down to 10%. 50% Chinese tariffs, 90% Chinese tariffs, 104% Chinese tariffs, 125% Chinese tariffs, 145% Chinese tariffs, electronics exempted, electronics now back on. As he says, if you were a CFO of Fortune 500, would you improve any new investment in a country this unstable? Answer honestly, no. As I said, I would personally, as a shareholder, vote to fire any CEO who made a major outlay of cash, investment, or import decision under these conditions. And I can tell you, for the people who run this business, Crystal and I, we're like, there's going to be, we're going ultra conservative, probably even more conservative than we ever were before. And we're just going to sit here and wait to see what the macroeconomic conditions do.
On that point, I saw Cernovich talking about this on Twitter.
That's right.
And the connection is,
he did a good job, actually.
The podcast universe, which was pretty heavily, pro-Trump this time around, as the media loves to remind us, one of this big legs of their economic business model is e-commerce, and that's not just podcasters. That's TikTokers. That's the entire kind of creator economy, is organized around not advertising, and the advertising is about selling stuff online. So if you just get your money from ad revenue, you're taking a hit, because companies are going to spend less. They're going to have less to spend on advertisements if they have less that they're able to sell to the public. And then there's the direct sales, your little store. You think those counterpoints and breaking points socks are expensitive now?
Actually, no. All of ours are made in the USA. So all of ours are made in the USA union labor.
I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way that you would say it is that even though it is made in the USA, and even though it is made in the USA with union labor, is that the input cost of cotton or whatever almost certainly comes from China. I've actually learned this in the suit industry. Actually, by the way, this is a PSA for anybody who's out there. I have some friends who are getting married. I did not realize that the vast majority of wedding dresses are made in China. And I don't even believe it's possible to buy a Made in America branded wedding dress right now. And so if you're getting married, you should order that wedding dress sometime soon, and just hope and pray that you're not.
and if you have American-made products like cars or socks, let's say you even sourced the cotton, which unlikely here, and everything is done in here, because demand is getting, theoretically, in a world where things are stable. That's not the world we're in, but let's pretend let's pretend there's some stability. Demand is getting funneled into those American products. So if you own a used Ford, like the price of it's going to go up. Like you're going to be able to get more for that.
Yeah, that's
the Fords,
right.
But like, wait a minute, why is that?
Well, did you already see that? There's a story going around of a guy who drove off the lot with a brand new CRV. And the dealer called him the next day, and he's like, "Hey, man, I will pay you a lot more than you paid for this brand new." I mean, that never happens. What, you're supposed to lose 20% of your value the moment that it goes pump off there? By the way, CRV owners undefeated here. Thank you. Shout out to the CRV bros. Right. I count myself in your ranks.
And since there's so much more demand, I mean, that's so the idea is then that price increase is then supposed to incentivize more domestic production. Like that's the whole theory behind it. But for the very medium term, there's not going to be that production, so you're just going to pay $55 for those socks instead of $35.
It's rough out there, Ryan. Let's put A5, guys, can we, up on the screen? This is from Charles Gasparino. Forgive the block of text, but it actually is important. And so he quotes prominent investor and Wall Street tech analyst who's been there for, basically 20 years. And his word, it's one of those things on Wall Street, these analysts who've been around for a long time, everybody really does take a listen to him. He goes, let's be clear, on Friday night, the White House excluded big tech and the chip sector from these Chinese tariffs, right? Which would have made the tech stocks rally, as I said initially. This is a huge victory. But now, according to the White House and Howard Lutnick, this morning, the semiconductor sectoral tariffs will be coming over the next month or two, including smartphone and computers. So the mass confusion created by this constant news flow is, quote, dizzying for the industry and investors, creating a massive uncertainty and chaos for companies trying to plan their supply chain inventory as in demand. As we are in Masters Week and it's Sunday, this would be like changing the whole locations for pro golfers in Augusta while the final round is going on in real time. This is how investors feel right now. What are the rules of the game? What do earnings look like? What will the new tariffs look like? Can they be negotiated? How can companies give guidance in this environment? We are in a much better spot than Friday and last week heading into Sunday night, but there is still, quote, mass uncertainty, chaos, and confusion around the next steps, with all focus on the China tariff negotiations being front and center, and any progress on a game this high-stakes poker between Beijing and DC being crucial to the markets and the economy this week. So with the chaos at the market...
One amendment to that, it's like changing the whole after you swing.
Yeah,
like your ball is in, your ball's like if you change the hole right before you take your shot, like, all right, give me a different club and I'll take a different shot. You swing, you hit the ball, and then they're like, oh no, by the way, you're actually supposed to be going to the 14th tee.
Yeah,
you were playing at the 17th tee.
I don't know enough
watch
about
the Masters,
golf.
by the way?
I don't know anything about golf, unfortunately.
I didn't watch it because I don't have time on weekends to do anything.
I don't really get it.
McIlroy.
Yeah, what he won a comeback or something. This is what I mean. This is the extent of
he hadn't won in 11 years, and he locked up.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
And so he's now won all the.
All right.
He's got the Grand Slam, the career Grand Slam.
All right. What is a career Grand Slam in golf?
It means you win
US
all
Open?
the Masters.
So
yeah.
what
is
are
it?
all the
PGA, US Open, Masters. I don't watch that. What's the fourth one?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking
you guys tell us what the fourth one is. You got all the big ones.
Okay. All right. Got it. Yeah. So this shows you the extent of my my golf knowledge. There was some guy who I met. What's his name? Bryson DeChambeau. I had no idea who this guy was.
He was the guy neck and neck with.
Yeah, I saw him once. We were at this event and he was there, and all these people were taking pictures. I was like, "Who is this guy?" Someone was like, "Oh, he's one of the biggest golfers in the world." I was like, "Oh, cool."
He almost won the Masters.
Yeah, shows you the extent of my golf knowledge. Sorry, Bryson. No offense. I promise. It's truly not you.
He has bigger problems today.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There we go. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.